I call this meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Hill Country Energy Subregional Planning Commission. It is Wednesday, March 6th, 2025. It's 10:02 a.m. in the morning. We'll start our meeting with a brief prayer. So please join me, bow your heads. Heavenly Father, bless this gathering. Guide us, Lord, that we may serve your will and help us to protect the health, safety, and welfare of all of our constituents. Mm-hmm. Lord, we thank you for all of the many blessings you've bestowed on us and the opportunity to live here in the Hill Country. But Lord, right now we cry out for rain. So please send us some of that rain. Amen. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, so the first order of business is to approve the March 14th meeting minutes. Hopefully everybody's had an opportunity to review those. They're posted on the website. And for the public's information, we're trying to keep all of our documents on our website, and that is www.HCESRPC.com. So I have a motion on the minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes from the last meeting.
A second. Chad and Jeff. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. For Kerr County Commissioners, we've adopted a new practice. We now all raise our hands.
Okay.
So that those who can't hear who voted for something, they can at least see it very clearly. So
And I have
suggest we adopt the same comments.
Your charge, so sure.
Okay. Okay.
just a comment about the minutes. I just want to say that those minutes were extremely detailed this time. And it was a very rich meeting, and that was useful, I think, to me at least, to do it like that. But I don't intend to do it like that in the future. It's extremely labor intensive, and we've got the video.
Yeah. That's right.
And I'm just going to put motions and also general agreements that we come to and to-dos.
That's perfectly
Okay.
fine.
And that's what
You are our secretary. We'll follow your lead.
That's
I've tried
great. I
not
think the
to
video will be
edit
good.
too heavily. So
Yeah,
That was great.
anyway,
okay.
okay. So I guess the next order of business is to, talk a little bit about the amended interlocal agreement. That was amended in your last commissioners court meeting,
Yes.
and it was brought up and discussed in the Kerr County Commissioners Court meeting this past Monday, and no issues whatsoever. Approval was granted for our county judge to sign the same amendment, and that amendment effectively makes the date of the Hill Country Energy Subregional Planning Commission effective February 11th. Is that correct?
Yes.
That was the date that Kendall County Commissioners Court approved the formation of the 391 SRPC. So just for everybody's awareness, I haven't actually seen the signed copy yet. As soon as I do, I'll send it to everyone.
Wonderful.
But it will be signed. So we move on then. Third item is board member input on developing information. I think we added this at the request of Linda Bullard. So
Good.
I'm going to start with you.
Oh, no. Because I have quite a bit, and I
Well.
hope that some of you will have taken it, I'm sure, some of my points. But my first one is that I made up some bumper
Go
stickers.
Pets.
Oh, that's awesome.
I showed this last time. Anyway, I went ahead and made up some bumper stickers. If anybody wants one, okay.
There you go.
And I have some extra for y'all too.
Thank you.
So I think, I want to start seeing them around the HEB
Make sure the
parking
camera
lot.
sees it loud and
That's awesome.
don't mess with Texas. Great.
So, the second thing, I've got one on my car. I think I'm the first one in our commission,
Okay,
region.
You are.
super.
So, well, I wasn't able to go to it, but the SREC symposium, energy symposium took place last week, and I think none of us could go to it, but some are here who did. The Burners did, and also Barbara Ferguson did. I'm sorry she's not here today, but I wondered if we might, since we don't have it anywhere else on the agenda, if at this time we could hear a little bit about it, because I think or is that appropriate?
Oh, I'd be happy to hear from it if anybody's got anything to report on it.
It would be from y'all.
You guys want to say anything about that meeting?
I mean, they got some really good documents from
Very
it,
good information.
which I appreciate your sharing.
It's, the microphone will pick you up. It's really good.
Camera.
So last Wednesday,
Yes.
we were at the symposium.
For the record state.
Oh,
name.
Jeff Berner
Thank you.
from Kendall and Kerr.
Yeah.
And so we were at the meeting. 2 state senators, 2 state reps spoke at various times. Experts in the field spoke. I think I said this in Kerr County Monday that if you haven't seen Grid Down Power Up, you should see that. It's an hour and 5 minutes. It's pretty good. Bottom line, they went over all the bills and why and which ones, and I guess they would they're asking for us to support these bills in the next coming weeks, and it's only in the next few weeks because then it's over, and then they go on vacation for some reason. And so I should have brought my hand out, but I think it's Bill 715, Senate Bill 715. Bob House spoke. Various people showed concern where we get the power from, how wind energy, solar energy, and BESS is just a complete scam. That's what the bottom line, that's what we're talking about. So I have further information. I should have brought it, but wasn't expecting to. So thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
And you can email it to any of us. We may have actually already received it.
There's a meeting today in Austin as well, this afternoon. The Commissioner Weeshan is at.
Okay.
They're going to be speaking about BESS.
Well, there are an awful lot of bills about BESS, so we're trying to keep them tracked, and I think we probably need to update our website. There's a few that aren't present on the website that are actively moving through the legislation or at least have been filed. That doesn't mean they're going to move through the legislation. And that's the downside right now. Not much is moving through the House. The Senate seems to be doing their job, but I unfortunately can't say the same about the House. So I think, as Mr. Berner points out, anyone who is concerned about BESS should do all they can to contact your state senator and representatives and support these bills. I think overall, they're all positive and helpful. My opinion, they don't do anywhere near enough, but we now have another individual who may want to comment on the meeting that was held last Wednesday in Austin. Barbara Ferguson has joined our group. Jeff Berner was given a bit of an update. Anything you might want to share with us?
There was some.
Just come up close to the microphone so we get your voice at least on record.
There was some interesting legislation that was discussed. Senator Sparks, for one, has a piece of legislation that he talked about that would basically allow Texas, or actually make it a requirement that Texas would assign a fee that would bring, offset the subsidies that the federal government is giving to energy producers, and put that fee on top of wind and solar and anything else that is getting federal subsidies, to make it a level playing field in Texas for our energy production.
Good.
So that one, no matter what happens, what companies come in, it gets the federal government out of Texas energy, which I think is a positive
Well,
move.
that would be amazing if that could actually be passed.
Mhm.
I do have a question. It's not clear in my mind about the time frame, because we just heard that we need to be organizing support in the very short term here for this legislation. But on the other hand, I understood you to say at our last meeting that actually this is a long process, that they go to committee, there will be hearings, there will be amendments, there will be conference committees and so on. So could you clarify actually how much time we do have? Because I need to come back to that later.
Well, really what needs to happen, the legislature needs to hear from the public now to keep those bills that we favor, keep those bills moving forward. Because if they don't understand that the public is behind, coming up with good solutions for our energy grid, not just looking for a quick fix or letting foreign entities come in and get involved in our energy, then we have to get behind those bills now, start making calls to representatives, et cetera, so that those bills have a chance to keep going down the road. If there's no impetus, they're going to get dropped.
Barbara, I know you've told us before, but could you repeat what is the group that's focused on this stuff? I know, obviously we should be letting our representatives, West Riddell and Lane Troxclair, and as well as Campbell and Flores in the Senate, know that we support these. But you've told us before there was a specific committee.
Well, this committee that
What's the name of the
organized the symposium is associated. It's formed by the SREC, which is the State Republican Executive Committee.
Right.
These really are bipartisan issues, but this particular committee was assigned because it's a Republican priority, securing our grid. And so they came, they are pushing forward on this. So whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, going to taking a look at the SREC, the Texas State Republican Executive Committee, taking a look at their webpage and those committees breakdown, then you'll be able to find a way that you can get plugged in and help.
Is there a specific committee in the House or in the Senate, though, that are dealing with these types of bills?
Those types of bills, I think they're going under state affairs.
State affairs. That's what I know
Yeah.
you told us that before. So thank you. That's what I was looking. So the public should probably reach out to the State Affairs Committee and let them
Yes.
know that we support all of these bills. Perhaps in particular, the senator, the latest one is which senators?
Senator Sparks,
Sparks, that's right.
yeah, he has some, and then Troxclair and Verdell
Yeah.
both have them.
Birdwell.
Yeah, there are others.
Sure.
There are quite a few bills that are out there being proposed, and I think we'll see a consolidation of ideas from these bills
Sure.
as it goes forward, but that it will continue to go forward, and we've got the best chance if we have lots of public input.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much. Any other input?
Just one. And that was because in your report on Monday at the Commissioners Court, you invited the citizens to actually assist Commissioner Holt in his research on Moss Landing. And and Was that okay?
No, yeah, it's fine.
Well, anyway.
There's
I-
actually a
I
lot
just wanted to say that I would be prepared to help on that, but I think to avoid duplication, we actually need to hear from Commissioner Holt exactly where he needs assistance and what the time frame is, so that we can divide up the work. And what I wanted to know is, you know, and is that something that we can talk about outside this meeting, or do you need to say something about that at this meeting?
Well, I am prepared to give an overall view on Moss Landing at this meeting, and then,
At this
yes,
Oh,
we have a quick presentation for the group that we're gonna put on our website. And then I'm gonna give some facts about Moss Landing,
okay.
and then,
Outstanding.
just as a little precursor to what we're gonna talk about, we'll need to dig down about the company that did it in Moss Landing and what they're doing in Texas. I think that's more relevant to us than
This,
about their major investment, so we can understand more research about what product they're bringing to Texas, because that deals specifically with us.
Yeah.
That's where I need help.
okay,
Excellent.
all right. Thank you.
Anything else? Commissioner McCall, any input from your side?
So we're giving developing information. I spoke with, you brought up John Palacios, and I did reach out, and I was able to talk to him. He works for LCRA. I think he's been there a year. He was on city council, I believe,
City manager,
city manager for the city of Mason.
right.
He did tell me kind of what they went through and recapped the fact that it was a facility that was already up and going, and so I asked him, in his position with LCRA, Government Affairs is his actual title, if he could give me more information, and he didn't have a whole lot. I just asked him if any projects for Kendall or Kerr County were active that he could see on his database. And I'm still not sure that that's even his purview of what he deals with, is the connectivity of these best facilities through LCRA, with LCRA. But he did look, and he said there is one active, they're in the active phase where I think what they do, LCRA has been designated or directed by ERCOT to do the actual hookup of the battery storage to their facility. So they were directed first, and then they reach out to the company and they look at what the scope of the project is. And then they see what the cost and infrastructure will be, and they give them a contract. And then if the company is willing to pay and adhere to whatever, I don't know if they even have any guidelines, but there is some type of a fee that they have to pay. Then they go forward. And so what he told me was that in Mountain Home, there was actually an active BESS that is in the LCRA system. And again, I don't know how far along that is. But what it sounds like to me is that they agreed and they paid the amount to be hooked up to LCRA. But there is not one currently in Kendall County. So I asked if I could call and get more information, and he said yes. Again, I'm not sure that he actively is part of that process, but he was able to look. And then I reached out to Mr. Blumfault, who is he was a board member for the Mason County 391, and he offered the nonprofit to us to be able to use, and he said that they still are very happy to let us use it. We'll just have to look at what those exact details are. Again, it's a long process to actually establish a nonprofit, so that's very helpful. And then also he said that from their documents, remember they did their 391 back in 2009. And so I asked if there were any kind of coordination or communication between any state agencies. I was mainly looking at public utilities and ERCOT, and he did think that there was some communication back and forth, and he was going to go and look through, I think, some boxes of information that he had. between he and some other members of that 391. So they haven't found it yet, but he is going to get back to me on that. And that's all I have.
Okay. I'll just give one update, because most of my other updates will be under the next agenda item. But one thing that did come to me was an email from the Greater Edwards Aquifer Alliance from Annalisa Peace. And it was informing, I believe, all the commissioners in Kerr County at least, of the House Concurrent Resolution 121, which I think is quite significant because this concurrent resolution has already been filed. I'm not sure quite what the approval process is on this, but it would be significant in that it would make the Edwards Aquifer a state treasure. And it would also task TCEQ with taking direct action to preserve the Edwards Aquifer and to avoid any kind of irreversible contamination. Now, it's very clear that if we ever have a thermal runaway fire, we will have contamination of the surrounding soil, and it make its way into the river and the Guadalupe River, where most of the substations are located in close proximity to, actually feeds the Edwards Aquifer. And so we will be, when we meet with TCEQ, we will be asking them to factor that into whatever they do associated with the House Concurrent Resolution 121 and taking direction. But the only other thing is I have reached out by email to Annalisa Peace because I certainly want to talk further with the Greater Edwards Aquifer Alliance, and I haven't had a response yet. So if anybody has her phone number, that would be greatly appreciated.
I'll get that for you.
That's all I'm going to say for now. Over to you.
Sure. I think the most interesting update we have for the group is interest by another company to create a BESS in Kerr County. And I'm going to talk a little bit about where that's at. And as it continues to develop, update this group. We as a body have not been approached, but our judge and one of our commissioners was approached. And that's an interesting fact, right? Because we're dealing with BESSes, but they chose to go to our judge and to Commissioner Tom Jones. I guess they felt that was safer space to address that with him, looking for a planning meeting with at least those two currently. And where it's at is Upper Turtle Creek. So Kerr County, south of Kerrville, is Highway 16 runs north to south, right? South of Kerrville is Upper Turtle Creek Road, and there's also a Lower Turtle Creek Road. One of our 13 sites is a transformer yard, which is owned by Bandera Electric. But LCRA runs the power lines. As you can imagine, the 138 power lines go into that, which services the Turtle Creek area south of Kerrville. It's mostly rural. It is in Kerr County, and they are looking at a battery energy storage. They are very early into the planning phase, so all the questions I have are probably the ones that you're going to have. What's the product? What's the capability? What's the size? I would assume just by looking at the size of the Bandera transformer yard, it's another large battery energy storage system. Not connected, well, probably around 100 megawatts is what I would expect, which is typically what they need to be profitable to get on the grid. So more to follow. I'll continue to update you when I receive information, but that's what we have new. And I'll talk about Moss Landing whenever in this meeting, but that's the update I have for the group.
I have a question on that. I mean, you know, one reason why they may have chosen to go to the commissioner's court instead of us is because they didn't know about us. I mean, we've been notifying the state agencies of our existence, but that's it. And they may just not have realized, but the commissioner's court knows about us. And it would seem like we should be coordinating with our own commissioners courts as well and asking them to enter into planning coordination with us if they find out about things like this. I mean, is that appropriate?
Well, we have had counsel so far from Dan Byfield that says, don't meet as a group with the companies.
And
He's been
certainly,
express about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should.
Correct.
and there's no
They have-
obligation for any of these companies to meet with us. There is zero obligation.
No,
The only obligation is with state agencies.
right, but they're not obligated to meet with commissioners court either,
No, they're
yet
not.
they took that step.
They did.
So that shows that, you know,
The good thing is our court knows how to effectively communicate, about this and that we have to navigate that space to say, all right, how do we not violate any open, discussion with our court and they brief us. So I believe they're going to come before the commissioner's court. That's what our commissioner and our judge asked, right? To come out in public and brief our commissioner's court is coming to our county, just like a previous one has done. And then from that occurrence, we can learn the most and bring that to our group. That's, I think, the proper way to do this. And you'll learn about what they're proposing as far as size, capability, technology, and then we can determine the threats. Again, most of our electrical power stations are near rivers, like that one is on Lower Turtle Creek, because that's the way the community's developed. We grew around water, right? Because water is king to our agriculture, then cities, communities gathered around that, and so did homes and subdivisions, which is why the power plants have been right around our rivers for quite some time, which brings in the threat, of course, of a BESS, which has to be normally co-located with it. So more to follow. That's all I know. Now you do.
Good, thanks. Anything else?
No.
Commissioner Carpenter, any?
Yeah, there's a discussion of a AI data center coming to Comfort area. They use probably 5 to 10 times more power than most businesses. My question for LCRA as well as ERCOT and all these companies is, what kind of regulatory authority do they really have to be handling BESS? Because they're appointed, they're not elected, and the Supreme Court has been very clear, as I said in our last meeting, that an appointed committee or appointed board has no authority to create rules and laws that regulate any industry. That's what the whole Chevron lawsuit was filed over, and that's what they lost on, and that's what the Supreme Court ruled on. So in my opinion, our legislatures have a duty right now to come up with specific parameters on how BESS is developed in Texas. And so I fully believe there's going to be something passed in the legislature. They can't ignore it anymore. There's too much of it coming. And so I have nothing else to say.
I mean, in all those bills, you could consider that will create the start of regulation if they get passed. But right now, it's very much lacking, and that's creating the opportunity, and particularly while they're targeting the unincorporated areas of small counties. So right now, I think it's fair to say the only real regulations are the fire codes.
yeah, I have a lot to say in response to that, and I totally agree with you and support that. But I had thought to say it when we discussed legislation later on. But I think it's very important.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and move on to the next item, which is an update on coordination notices sent to PUCT and LCRA and TCEQ. And I'll start off. Linda may have some further updates because she's been in more direct contact with a couple of these where I've been sending up the letters. But I will say, in terms of Public Utilities Commission, I think we sent our first letter on February 14th, and we have not heard any response at all from Public Utilities Commission. So a second letter was sent out on March 21st to the Public Utilities Commission, and it's available on our website for anybody who might want to read it. So, we're trying to ring the bell a little bit louder with them. And we've also brought to their attention the 250th District Court decision that ruled in the favor of, I guess, the Waller County Sub-Regional Planning Commission, in which, Texas Department of Transportation, it was ruled they had to coordinate with Waller County. And so effectively, all we're trying to do is just remind them that, legally, there's no choice. You have to coordinate with us. We have formed a 391 Sub-Regional Planning Commission, and by law, any state agency or federal agency has to coordinate. So we're just trying to emphasize that. And of course, we're also trying to, if need be, shame them into meeting with us, because there is a moral obligation on anyone involved in the planning for BESS in Texas to ensure that, the final outcome protects the health, safety, and welfare of all constituents that might be affected. So we've emphasized that in the letter, and we talked even a little bit about the recent crabapple fire in Gillespie County that took out 10,000 acres that was burned and over 30 structures destroyed, including 9 homes. So imagine if the source of that fire had been a BESS facility, and it's all too likely. We have plenty of wildfires in this arid region of the state. So we'll see what PCUT does in response to this letter. Linda, you want to say anything about your phone conversations with people at the Utilities Commission?
Yes, it was a great second notification letter, but I did also want to recall that the office of Chairman Gleason had actually assigned us to the Office of Public Engagement, and actually named a contact person, but whose name is Mike Hoke, and he's the director of the Office of Public Engagement, but he was out of town at that particular time. So although there has been no formal response to our initial letter, they did say that we had this contact person and that he would be in touch with us when he got back, which is this very day. So they said that he would be writing a formal letter of acknowledgement and also looking towards setting up a meeting. Now, I will just recall that the Office of Public Engagement is not necessarily where we think we ought to be, but there has been, that communication. And so we should be hearing from it.
So that's it with public utilities. I'll move on to LCRA. I think everyone is aware, at least on the board, that the LCRA sent us a letter. Number one, stating that they are not a state agency, so have no obligation to coordinate with our 391 SRPC. And then they also tried to say that, they were under obligation by the state to connect any power generator to their grid indiscriminately. So in the letter that I sent back, and thanks to Barbara Ferguson with Wes Riddell's office, we informed them that they were indeed, in our belief at least, subject to Chapter 391 of the Local Government Code, based on its creation by the Texas legislature and by the definition clearly stated in the Texas Special District Local Laws Code, Title 6, Subtitle G, Chapter 8503A. And it states a conservation and reclamation district to be known as the Lower Colorado River Authority is created. The authority is a governmental agency and a body politic and corporate. So to me, that's a state agency. So we'll see how they respond to that. And then we went on to kind of stress that, first of all, they're talking about connecting power generators. And we all know that a battery energy storage system is not a power generator. They merely store power, and in fact, they actually lose a little bit of power before they return it to the grid. So if they have some directive that says they have to connect a power generator, my opinion is it wouldn't apply to BESS. So who knows what other direction they have. So that was one aspect. And then, of course, regardless, when they try to say indiscriminate, that should not relieve any agency or body politic of any obligation to ensure the health, safety, and welfare of the people in the surrounding vicinity that might be affected. So we've kind of brought that out also in the letter. And we'll see how they respond. That's the latest on LCRA. Have you had any further discussion?
Yeah.
Then we'll move on. The next one is the TCEQ. We had received a formal response from TCEQ stating that they were willing to meet with us, but they don't have a role to play in permitting for BESS. And I think that's probably true. Yeah. Because none of the BESS developers are asking for an air quality permit or a water permit or anything else, so a waste permit. But that doesn't mean that TCEQ shouldn't be involved and looking at it. We've already talked a little bit about the House Concurrent Resolution 121 that obligates TCEQ to look into this and do all they can to protect the Edwards Aquifer from irreversible damage. So I think that plays well into what we're going to be asking TCEQ, and that's to help us, and in particular, study the worst case. Because regardless of whether they're issuing a permit or not, I mean, no developer is going to ask for a permit based on the worst case scenario and potential discharge associated. But that doesn't mean that TCEQ shouldn't be looking at that and studying it. And there's already plenty of evidence associated with some of the existing fires like Moss Landing that Commissioner Holt is going to talk to us more about. So the good news is, let's see, where's that? Get the right. No, I don't have their letter in front of me. I thought I did. Anyway,
You want this?
No.
Concurrent.
The good news is TCEQ have agreed to meet with us, and they will attend the meeting that for everybody's information, that we need to hold on the 16th of April. And that will be at 10 in the morning to hopefully accommodate, to help accommodate their travel. They're going to be coming to Kerrville on the 16th of April for a meeting at 10. And they seem very cooperative. So at least two of their people will be coming in, and they seem very receptive and willing to work with us. So I'm very pleased with that outcome. And I think with that, I'll.
Rich, I'm sorry, can you just tell us on April 16th at 10 a.m. at Kerr County?
It'll be in Kerr County, yeah.
16th.
Kerrville Courthouse on
Okay,
the
yes,
16th. It's a Wednesday,
Yeah, thank you.
10 in the morning.
So most of the letters that we've sent out, he's just designated Kerr County as a meeting place because it's easier. And so any coordination meetings we have, unless we let you know otherwise, will probably be in Kerr County. We'll let you
And
know.
we may change it, it all depends on what we hear from them and when. I didn't really intend for them all to be in Kerrville. It's just
It's just the how it
not
started.
knowing, not knowing when they're going to respond and what our normal meeting schedule would be. It was just a lot easier.
Did you want to mention ERCOT too?
Oh, yes, thank you. Well, actually, yeah, it's not on the agenda, but a letter has been sent to ERCOT asking for a coordination meeting as well. So of course, that was just, I think, on the 21st. So fairly recent, certainly no response yet. And I'm kind of suspecting that ERCOT will come back and say that they're not a state agency. Yeah. But they are, under the supervision of the Public Utilities Commission. But interestingly, they're a nonprofit 501c4 organization. So we'll see what they say, I think they have in the past coordinated, is it Waller County or which, they have attended a 391 coordination
It's either
meeting.
based on-
Yeah.
So that's why I'm hoping to get those documents.
So we'll see what they say. And even if they're not obligated legally, that doesn't mean we can't convince them of the need to coordinate. So we will continue to work towards that effort to get them on board, and perhaps we'll have assistance from our representative who has some influence with some of these agencies, or whatever we want to call them, corporations. And encourage them to at least come and meet and talk to us about what they're planning and why, and who is going to safeguard our constituents.
Yeah, I think it's important for Barbara to coordinate with Wes on certain meetings if he could attend.
Yeah.
Either in person or by teams with the amount of travel he's doing.
Right.
But especially when we meet with LCRA or ERCOT.
Mm.
Those are important meetings.
Yeah. And any of these agencies are obligated to respond to our Texas legislatures when they call and ask for a meeting or ask for them to meet with us. So, and you may have noticed that the more recent letters cast a larger net in terms of the copied representatives. So I'm kind of deciding that it's worth copying not only our Representative Burdell, who is part of this board, but also Representative Troxclair and Senator Campbell. And we also have U.S. Representative Chip Roy now. We're going to try to keep him informed. I think he's on side with what we're trying to do, and he is very much against the IRA and a lot of the so-called green funding. So we'll at least keep him informed of what we're doing so that he's better aware. Who else did I leave out?
Senators Hall and Spark.
Haven't sent it to them yet.
Let's see.
So I think we did Campbell and Flores, who, are our representatives, the two counties. We could go further, but for now, I think it's probably all right. Okay, I think that's it on coordination notices, updates. The next item, and we can take anything out of order. I know Commissioner Carpenter, you said you have to leave at 11. Is there anything you'd like to
No, we may,
see discussed before you have to go?
if we're not gonna get the responses that we demand from, we may get American. What's his name?
Stewart, Dan Byfield.
Yeah, Mike.
Oh, yeah.
There may be a point where we need to start involving him in our group
Okay.
to force.
I mean, of course, I talk to him regularly.
Okay.
I take his advice on some of these letters.
Gotcha.
I mean, I can't share everything with everyone until after it's done, but I try to send all drafts to our vice president and certainly Dan Byfield, and he's advising, at least on the correspondence. It was his idea to include U.S. Representative Chip Roy. I think it's smart. So we're definitely keeping him in the loop, and he's definitely watching our meetings more or less after the fact. Sometimes I don't even know, are you streaming this live or?
I
are you
did
just gonna
not.
post it out?
I did not.
Okay, well, then obviously he's not watching. But he will watch.
We'll post them though.
So any,
Oh, shoot.
that's my fire alarm, folks. The phone is on silent, but that one,
Just a burn ban violation.
but that's $1,000 fine.
It is.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, well, then I guess we'll just move on to the next item on the agenda, which is potential experts for coordination testimonies. And I don't know where you want to talk about Mouse Landing.
I
This
think
might
it'd
be
be
the
probably
right place.
appropriate to do that,
Absolutely.
especially if we can give him a primer before we leave.
That'd be good.
While she's queuing it up, I'm gonna give us some facts about the Moss Landing. That's what we wanted to discuss today. First of all, it's in California, not Texas. It is in Northern California in Monterey Bay. Moss Landing is a multimodal power facility, both with storage and production. The Moss Landing site itself is on the coast, and right up from that feeds a river called Elkhorn Slough. So if you can imagine in that part of California, you get mostly winds that come from their onshore winds, right? So they push most of the prevailing wind pattern pushes it onshore because of the cold Pacific up there, as you can imagine, and warmer terrain up there. So the Elkhorn Slough is a tributary that goes into the ocean, right? And it is a natural preserve. So you have a lot of power plant production on the coast, and then you have a preserve inland. That kind of tees you up on where we're at. Now, that is a pretty large facility. It's the largest in America for battery energy storage, and it's a major also producer with a large liquid natural gas power plant that is also run out of there. So since 2020, they've had one of 3 battery energy storage systems. One that caught fire was all under one roof. That's a little bit different than what you see being produced today. That was a lithium ion producing plant, and it was a nickel, manganese, cobalt, heavy metal, which was involved within that plant as well. So that was one of 3 BESSes. You'll see different numbers as far as storage up there. So just to let you know, you'll see anywhere from total battery storage of 750 to 900 megawatts. So more research will probably be required to definitively tell you what size, but it was the largest in the United States. It did catch fire in January. It did blow that prevailing wind up the Elkhorn Slough inshore, and it did drop heavy metal deposits along that Elkhorn Slough and inshore. That's being all documented by independent studies, and we're seeing a lot more of that, with nickel, manganese, and cobalt being the heavier metals that fell from the smoke and the toxic fire onto the natural preserve. So that's caused a lot of concern. They are going to write that off at a cost of $400 million, they being Vistra Energy. So that's why we need to understand a little bit more about Vistra Energy, which is the largest energy group that we have in Texas. They're headquartered out of Irving. They do have BESSes, yes, in Texas, and this one in California. But it is one of 3 battery energy storage in California. And the California Energy Commission, who's in charge of all this, has taken all 3 offline. As you can imagine, one burned up at a cost of $400 million, and the other 2 are currently offline. Not the LNG plant, but the battery storage, until they can figure out how to safeguard these plants against further fire. The other plants, as you'll see, are more modern and are individual containers like we currently see in new production of battery energy storage plants. So they learned the hard way about this, and they have had previous incidences of thermal runaway, which they've either caught or shut down. But once this whole 300 megawatt plant went up, there was no stopping it. Right. So that's your primer about that. And just to let you know, they are looking at Texas Vistra Energy out of Irving. They have 2 different power plants for battery energy storage. Sorry, not power plants, battery energy storage systems being developed in Texas. The largest one in Texas is in D. Cordova. That is in Granbury, Texas. Go figure, not that far from Irving, Dallas, Fort Worth. It's southwest. It's a 260 megawatt plant that they've been developing since 2020. And it's online or about to be online with 22,360 individual battery modules. So just think about that. Those have to be replaced over time, just like your phone every 5 years. And that becomes the challenging issue. 22,360 individual battery modules for a 260 megawatt plant. So that just lets you know the size of it. And it's on a 138 kV line out of D. Cordova. The second one they've done, this is Vistra Energy, is in Crane County. That's West Texas. And that's a lot of the battery energy storage required for wind and solar out west. And that's called Emerald Grove. So there's your primer on this, and we're going to hit play for a second, and we're going to listen from a pretty good news source out there that characterizes the impacts. We're going to play that, and you can look at it yourself on our website. It'll be posted on there later.
We begin with the dangerous new fallout from the fire that ripped through a lithium-ion battery plant in Monterey County earlier this month. And tonight, researchers are shedding light on the early environmental impact. So we're talking about the Moss Landing plant right off Highway 1. It's also situated right next to the Elkhorn Slough Reserve. Hundreds of acres of marshland and waterways that feed directly into Monterey Bay. So the fire broke out on January 16th, and while the flames didn't spread outside the Vistra Corporation's facility, the results of new soil testing are already raising alarms. Brian Hackney explains.
What went up in the Moss Landing plant fire must come down, and it has, in the form of toxic metals littering this, one of California's ecologic jewels, the adjacent Elkhorn Slough.
We've been monitoring the area adjacent to our plant for many years. Power plant in the background.
Ivano Aiello is a professor with the Moss Landing Marine Lab.
Less than 2 minutes.
His team made an alarming finding after the fire.
That's 3 metals that were detected in much higher concentrations.
The metals, nickel, manganese, and cobalt, all would have been present in the plume of smoke that poured for hours from the plant.
These 3 metals resulted much higher than previously measured at all sites.
In fact, new measurements within 2 miles of the plant show heavy metal concentrations have spiked.
Some places it was 10-fold, some places it was 100-fold, some places were probably even more than that.
The adjacent Elkhorn Slough is booming with life within sight of the plant.
Yeah, we've got a resident population of about 130 sea otters that live in the Elkhorn Slough.
The tourist trade here attracts thousands, and the slough attracts animals both on the surface and underneath that are threatened or endangered here. And it's a no-brainer that heavy metals in biology don't mix.
All 3 metals are known to be toxic.
A lot of researchers want to understand if there could be any impacts.
Sea Otter Program Manager Jessica Fuji at Monterey Bay Aquarium.
The Monterey Bay Aquarium responds to stranded sea otters, and we haven't seen any increase in that in the surrounding areas where the fire occurred.
And as for you, Dr. Aiello, you're in Moss Landing. What's the most important thing to do now?
The most important thing is to get the science going here, because this is happening as we speak right now. I'm leaving the interview and just going to field collect more data. So manganese 0.08, nickel 0.2.
And that's what he did just minutes after the interview. Out there again today, seeing just how far the heavy metals have spread.
About 0.03. Too much back clutter.
Okay, so the after effects, just to close out on that conversation, I think you're going to see years of study on this, frankly, and the impacts are as far as cleanup. If all those heavy metals spread upon a slough, and then what's going to do to the animals, it's generational. So California being a different core state than Texas in many different ways, is proposing stricter oversight of battery energy storage systems. They have their own bill, which we need to research and look at. It's called 303. Bill 303 is their Battery Energy Safety and Accountability Act. It is going to require local communities' engagement in permitting. Can you repeat that? Again, that's California's legislative Bill 303. It is on battery energy safety and accountability. Love for Texas to take something like that on and not learn the hard way like California has. Yeah. It is going to require local community engagement and permitting. It's going to mandate a buffer zone between BESS, battery energy storage sites, and sensitive areas to include schools, hospitals, and nature preserves. So when I think about what's happening in Comfort, one of our largest, perhaps developed battery energy storage systems, you check 2 or 3 of those. You have the Guadalupe. We are in a county that is a priority groundwater management area. And then you have the Guadalupe right south of it, and you have Comfort High School right there as well, where these battery energy storage systems are planned to go in and grow. So how similar it is to compare to both, and most importantly, the technology. Lithium ion is not lithium phosphate. It is much different. The ones that are more expensive are lithium phosphate, and they have a safer history as far as thermal runaway. But the majority of ours being planned, you have to take note of the battery chemistry, are lithium ion, which is subject to thermal runaway if not planned and with a lot of mitigating measures. Like they thought they had in California, but obviously they learned the hard way they did. Thank you.
Great, good job.
Can I add one thing?
Sure.
Yes.
So just today, we learned that there was a study done. Peregrine's putting in one in Harper. It's 1,400 feet from the high school. And the prevailing wind would directly affect it. And they say any occurrence, any happening would take 49 seconds to hit the school. So Mr. Miller, you got a minute and a half. Okay? And so that just adds to your comment. It's just nothing we can do. We got to do something. So thank you. For sure. Thank you.
Well, this is kind of also related to the comments that we received in our last meeting from Mr. Bruce Nietzsche. Hope I didn't crucify his pronunciation there, but and he was informing us that these developers should be complying with UL Battery Standard 1973, stipulating that no battery shall burn. Yet they're installing batteries that have a track record of burning.
Yeah.
So somehow somebody's got to nail them down on this.
Don Miller up on Flat Rock Creek. There's also the incident that happened between Los Angeles and Vegas on I think it's I-15. I may be mistaken. The interstate.
The truck.
The truck was transporting a battery system that was not connected to anything.
Correct.
And caught fire.
Yeah.
So the Californians disconnecting at Moss Landing doesn't do anything except,
Sure.
Yeah, they don't get any charging power, but enough heat just sitting, on a flatbed truck, one of them sitting on a flatbed truck, driving at 70 miles an hour and catches fire. What are they going to do sitting out here this summer up on Flat Rock? They don't need to be connected. And saying we're not going to connect, it's not the answer. You don't want them to show up.
Right.
I want to take their trucks and go back to, South Korea or whatever. But the point is that people don't understand how serious it is. And like you say, batteries catching fires you can't put out with water that we don't have. And the prevailing wind where I live up there in Flat Rock goes from the substation to the high school.
It does.
140 degrees. That's where it's going 9 times out of 10, right over to the high school.
Great. And then past the high school is the town of Comfort and the highway right there. So that prevailing wind pushes.
Well,
it right
the wind comes out of the southeast predominantly here, or up in Comfort, about 140 degrees, heading up 320 northwest. So from the substations, it goes straight over to the high school. And if it doesn't drift up the valley where I'm living, or where all the other people live there up that valley, or goes down into Flat Rock Creek, which goes right into Guadalupe, 1.5 miles.
And they are making an argument in this that the Moss Landing happened because it was older technology, lithium ion. It was all housed in one building, right? And that all caught fire and couldn't be stopped. That they assert that if you have it in individual containers, it would be safer. If you consider what happens south of that, just a year earlier, was Otay Mesa, San Diego.
Right.
Those were lithium ion. They were in individual containers, and they are all housed on a property, and there's not a great deal of space in between the containers, and the containers caught fire. That's the one where they dumped a lot of water and tried to reduce the toxins from the smoke, tried to put out the fire with millions of gallons of water, was unsuccessful, and they still burnt from container to container. So there's a technology and a spacing issue in between this and the development that they need to consider.
I think one of the other factors, which I don't know if there's any studies, but over the life of these batteries, they start degrading. And as they're recharged over and over, as I understand it, they're more susceptible to thermal runaway. with age.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, look at the fire that happened in Missouri a few months ago, that recycle facility. These are batteries that, you know, they've already decided are no longer serviceable. And the whole plant burned down. And that was the largest recycle facility in the United States. So it's scary.
Mr. Miller, which group are you with, Soil and Water?
Yes, Kendall Soil and Water Conservation District.
I'd like to set a meeting up with you and our general counsel. He was asking, what have y'all done that he's saying y'all have a little bit more authority than what you probably think.
Basically, what our job is working with NRCS. And in fact, when this first came up, I contacted our regional rep, state rep, in Temple and said, hey, where's TCEQ when we need it? You know, environmental quality. And she said, oh, they'd be the people to talk to. So she went to them, explained the situation. I gave her all the details of where we were, what those, and they came back, well, they kind of shrugged their shoulders up. It's not something we can control. But soil and water, it is a concern, but about the only thing we can do is cut off the money to somebody like the particular owner of the property. And I'm not even sure we can legally do that, but suggest that we do and take him off our list of, you know, clients, as it were. But basically what we're doing is coordinating with NRCS and helping people get into programs that help them in the soil, water conservation, mostly in the ranch and farming world, as it were. But yeah, we are concerned. The thing is, we don't have really any authority that we're given other than what we can say when they apply for a grant from NRCS for some, you know, CRP program or whatever kind of a deal like that. But we're aware that the issue is nobody seems to have the authority. The county doesn't have the authority, obviously. And I don't, you know, I think, you know, just off the top of my head, one, you're talking about all the people to connect with. I consider contacting Ken Paxton's office. If people are going to hide behind legal mumbo jumbo to say we're not really a state agency, we're not really going to do that, and we don't have to do this, and ERCOT's told us we have to connect, and ERCOT's not beholden to anybody. It's like, wait a minute, you guys are playing the shell game, and there's money involved, and that's the sad part. And I mean, we're doing this for what? 4 hours of electricity? When power goes out at my place, I'm been out for more than 4 hours sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't want that system just so I can get 4 hours of power. And ERCOT's going to decide where the power goes anyways. They're going to send it to Horseshoe Bay, or they're going to send it to Lake Travis, or they're going to send, they're not going to put it in Comfort, they're not going to put it in Kendall County, they're not going to send it to Bernie. And we're jumping through hoops for what? For 4 hours of power? Or a bomb at the other end of the spectrum, you know, just goes off and we all sit there. And I don't know if you've driven up, I know Chad has, but run up Flat Rock Creek Road to the substation and visualize 4 fire trucks responding to the fire up there. And then imagine people trying to get out. Road ain't wide enough. It's tight for any of that. It's crazy.
It's all correct, what you just said.
I'll still meet with you. Please meet you guys.
And I hope, Mr. Miller, you'll attend our meeting on the 16th of April, where TCEQ will be.
Yeah.
They need to hear from as many people as possible. Okay, so anything else on, I guess we were talking about experts for coordination testimonies.
I've reached out to folks in California. I've not got a lot of response back as far as experts out there, but we're going to keep trying.
Yeah. I will say that I have reached out to the president of CARFA, which is, I always forget what that acronym is, Kerr Area Regional. Anyway, it's all the fire departments in Kirk County and all the fire chiefs, both volunteer and the city of Kerrville. And anyway, the president of that is more than willing to testify whenever we need him. And he's just basically going to talk about our rural firefighter capability to respond to one of these things and what they can and can't do.
Right.
And having already heard the testimony, it's very limited as to what they can do. And but we'll hear from that. And I'm also possibly going to rope in Teeks because they're well aware of these issues and may be able to add further on that.
Mhm.
Any other comments about experts?
Yes, I kind of would like some clarification because it seems like we have sort of two categories of experts. And they may overlap in some cases, but in other cases they don't. And it seems like, and it's also related to, the type of meetings that we're having. So on the one hand, it seemed like we were looking for experts who could come to actually testify at the planning coordination meetings that we're having with the state agencies.
Right.
However, we have asked for these meetings to happen really quickly. We've proposed dates and we actually have one happening really quickly, which is April 16th. And so my question is, are we actually looking, do we need experts, for example, for this very first meeting?
Well,
And-
I think it would be helpful because we want to emphasize some of these points. So if they can hear it from experts, even better.
Right,
What doesn't stop us from talking through it to the best of our ability, but certainly experts are always going to be help to drive home the points, why this is so bad for our region.
right. So do we need to talk about April 16th? I mean, experts for that meeting now because
Sure. I mean, that's, again, I think anybody that Commissioner Holt can bring in that can talk further about Moss Landing. TCEQ is very familiar with Moss Landing in my discussions with them. They are aware of that and
Well,
they're already looking at some of the information associated. But whatever else you can find between now and then.
When I think in terms of experts, it's 5 categories. And I think of a Venn diagram, how it all kind of collides together. You have your response, your fire response, your NFPA, your TEEX, right? What do you do in case of that? Your worst event, right? That's your hazmat group. Then you have your technology, your engineers, your professors that can talk about energy, batteries, storage, lithium ion production. You have those kind of guys that know how to build things and experts with that, right? Then you have your legislative experts, right? Somebody that knows how to get a bill through, your Dan Byfields to understand how to put together a coalition against that and get bills through. Then you have your environmental impact experts as well, right? They can talk about what could happen to the Guadalupe or what could happen to Monterey Bay. So I think in those fields is where we need to find experts that are willing to give testimony to our body. So that's where I'm currently targeting, unless I'm forgetting something.
I would suggest in that case that we absolutely, for the April 16th meeting, should try to get somebody from the Edwards Aquifer
That's
Alliance.
definitely
Uh,
something I'm going to work towards.
okay,
I will have a couple phone numbers and names for you. I believe I've Ann Lisa and then also some bid works with her. So I'll have that for
Good.
you
Thank you.
before we leave.
okay. And, let's see. I mean, I did have, some suggestions for other experts, but it seems like, I mean, another thing is the difference between these planning meetings and also our need to educate ourselves.
Sure.
Because sometimes I feel like this is very difficult work. And some of the expertise and knowledge we need is actually for us. And doesn't necessarily need to be discussed with state agencies. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's kind of like intelligence reports.
Sure.
We don't want to put everything on you for intelligence reports. And
I think we need to work it in parallel, but
Yeah.
the emphasis and the priority is always going to be the actual coordination meetings and who can support our case when it comes down to coordination
Mhm,
and why we're so concerned.
mhm.
So we have the first one coming up on the 16th. We may hear from one of the other agencies and try to do that on the 16th as well.
As well.
It may be in the afternoon that we have another agency and coordination thereof. So I would request Commissioner McCall, if you could talk to your fire marshal and see
I
if
was thinking.
he might be willing to come and talk about what the fire code does to help. And of course, what it doesn't do.
Mhm.
It's equally important because it has its limitations.
Right.
We could get the state fire marshal to come in. And they're more than willing to do that, if that's also helpful. But the fact that you have somebody at hand and potentially a lot easier to get to show up on short notice.
Right. Okay.
And I was thinking about, we got those two papers. Were they from you? The study from A&M and another article by Robert Bryce. I'm not sure exactly where those papers came
The
from.
ones that got posted on the website? Or which one?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
they're
that
posted
that
on
was
the,
Commissioner
that was
McCall posted.
I mean, the author of the studies from A&M and also Robert Bryce, he's just in Austin. I mean, I think would be great to
Add to our meeting. We could.
well, I don't know about to this meeting on the 16th, but at some point,
Okay.
yeah.
And look, I think when we get into the coordination process, it's going to be more than one meeting.
Yeah,
So, whether we get all these experts to show up in the first meeting, I don't know. I mean, that could be a pretty long meeting.
So
Or we just agree
we're
to
just
have
seeing
multiple
this
meetings.
as like a first step
Yeah.
or,
We're learning as we go. I don't have all the answers for you, Linda.
okay.
I wish I did. So, any other comments about expert? Commissioner Holt? Sure. Okay. That brings us then to the next item, which is just bills in the Texas legislature relevant to BES. And I don't know, there's an awful lot of them. I don't necessarily want to go through everyone in detail, but I certainly would love to emphasize Senator Sparks' bill, because that would truly level the playing field
Yeah.
if it somehow gets passed. Any other specific bills you or anybody else wants to discuss? Happy to do that. I just don't want to try to go through all of them.
Yeah. I'd like to discuss something, but it's not on specific bills, but it is on legislation. Go ahead.
If it's kind of related, go ahead.
Yeah, it's definitely related. And I'm sorry that Commissioner Carpenter is gone because it actually relates to something that he brought up in our last meeting. And, I mean, there are two ways to deal with legislation, I think. One is to try to, support those bills that we agree with that are already introduced and try to get them going. But there's another way, and of course, I understand that is the first step that has to happen. But there's another way, and that is to try to influence the actual content of those bills through the amendment process. And because the reason why I think it is so important and that we have to look at it is that we, at this point, we do not have the power, will not have the power to reject a BES, right? But the state agencies, if they are given that by the legislature, they will have that power. And so what we can demand from state agencies in terms of meeting our overall goal, which is in our resolution, is going to be determined by the legislation, what they can do and what they can't do. And they're not going to do more than the legislation requires them to do. And so I feel that it's absolutely imperative for us to put out there what it is that we want in terms of a regulatory framework. And And I think I feel that we need to actually try to clarify that in our own minds, even knowing what our ultimate goal is, right? But having the regulatory framework, it's like, it's both a hedge against not succeeding in our ultimate goal. If we don't succeed in our ultimate goal, then all we've got to fall back on is legislation that controls what PUC can do, right? So I just feel, and I was thinking about this over the last week and a half since our last meeting, that I feel that we should tackle this and clarify in our own minds what we want this regulation to say. For example, one thing is that local communities have to have not only a place at the table, but a voice in the decision, the right to assent. And it's basically the same principle as prior informed consent for the human body. In other words, I think that the legislation has to say that a local community which is asked to bear the risk of something that is very dangerous has to say whether they agree with it or not. And therefore, in other words, you get told the benefits and the risks, and the local community that has to bear the risk has a right to say if they're willing to bear that risk, given the benefits. So anyway, the only way that I could figure out to attack this problem was to just do a kind of brainstorming about what sort of regulatory framework we would like to see. And I drafted a kind of focus tool that had the different elements that I think should be in such a regulatory framework. It's just a brainstorming tool. And anyway, I wanted to know, first of all, if y'all think that this strategy, it's a dual strategy. On the one side, support for the legislation that's there, but also trying to influence the content through Wes Friedell's office, perhaps. You know, I mean, there will be probably conference committees, and maybe if it gets that far, looking at a omnibus bill, and to try to get our desires into that process. And I don't think it's up to us to say, well, we're going too far. You know what I mean? This could never make it to the governor's office. That's not up to us. That's up to the legislators. But we need to say what we want. And it's also not just for the legislative process. It's also for the press. It's also a way to bring a spotlight onto what we would like to see. It serves as something, as a kind of aim spotlight. So anyway, I did draft this kind of tool. It's just a beginning, and you know, it needs to be fleshed out. And I thought I would just pass it out. And I mean, it has different sections. Believe me, there are more holes than flesh, but you know, it's submission of an environmental impact statement, and there are a number of points under that. Submission of an economic impact statement, you know, like impact on property values, impact on insurance for nearby, impact on local employment, impact on tourism, you know, and then a submission of safety and protection measures to be taken, statement of compliance with relevant federal, state, and local protocol. Road construction, statement of projected benefits. We want to know, is it going to benefit? Who's it going to benefit? And then finally, the requirement for local government involvement and assent. And I also put on here elements of a work program. So this is just what I call it focus. Would y'all mind looking at it?
No, that's great.
I think that's
We
great.
can pass it on to Commissioner Carpenter.
Okay.
Great.
I think where you're headed with strategy build and what we are asking for is the most important thing this body can do.
Yeah.
Because that will help drive legislative action, which is our most powerful and lacking tool.
That's right.
Second to that would be and what we're trying to get them to do is to have regulations to protect us against the threat. So our strategy, like what you've drafted, is essential.
Yeah, I think that's great.
No one else is doing it.
No, that's right.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe
the
part of the
pioneer.
process though is to look at all the legislation that's already out there.
yes.
And then, who knows how it's going to be consolidated, but we don't have to reinvent it. I mean,
No,
I think there's probably almost all of those bills have something
yes,
good and worthwhile in them. In my opinion, just they don't go nearly far enough. And
exactly.
they don't address the specifics that you're talking about here with the various types of impact statements, environmental,
Right.
economic, and none of it gives any authority to
To
the
us.
local government,
No,
in this case.
but
commission.
California's going for it.
Well, yeah,
We can go, and
Absolutely.
we don't have to wait for Moss Landing.
agreed,
here.
100% agree. And I think Commissioner Holt hit it on the head. It's spot on, there's nothing more important we can do for the long term.
Right.
Who knows what's going to come out of the current legislative session? And it's already getting very late for them to consider anything new, but it doesn't mean we can't try. And getting it out there, here's what we should have. I think it'd be a model for a lot of other counties and areas that are very concerned about this. So
And also
Good.
to y'all, I think the public can have an
Absolutely.
input in this as well. I mean, so,
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head too. I think one of the things that I read about initially was that that these types vests and especially vests, we are forced to take all of the impact without any benefit.
right.
And so we at least have this 391 to exercise our ability to coordinate and that's the start. So I think this is excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I'm just trying to, again, because of the Open Meetings Act, we are very limited in what we can do
Right.
outside of a formal meeting to give you comments back. And for that brainstorming to take place, it's difficult.
We may be
Kind of
able to
thinking.
We may be able to, one of the things we talked about in our county is being able to put something on our website that's open to the public and you could put comments. So we could look at maybe some type of page where we have this information and
Right.
people could put comments.
And
But
call
we
it
can-
seeking public comment or
But it
that
could be,
includes us, that,
it could be interactive, but I'm not sure. I'm just learning how to use the website. So we could see.
I mean, the website accepts comments. So
Okay,
people can comment on any particular document or post in this case,
Okay.
so you,
but they can't edit a document.
No, right. So
They-
you would have to
they-
do the editing.
but you mean that y'all are not allowed to give feedback?
No, yeah, we have to be very careful about that.
But
If we
it's
start
on-
doing that individually, that's communication and coordination that we would do, that I think that crosses the line.
If it's on the website though, for the public and we can input that way.
I don't know.
Our district attorney, we were talking about this,
Oh.
open meetings that there, as far as
What
the open
the
meeting.
Open Meetings Act prohibits discussion on any business matters before the governmental entity. So we can't discuss it,
We can't.
but it doesn't mean that we can't.
I think we need direction on that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe from a higher authority like TAC or something to say, if we built this as a mechanism for communication based upon what we formed here, would it be any violation of the open?
Well, here's.
I want a
throw
second
this out.
opinion.
I'm going to throw this out for comment. If there was an individual from the public, for example, that wanted to volunteer and kind of take charge of pursuing this framework, that individual could communicate with members of the board individually. And members of the board could provide their thoughts and ideas to that individual to pull this together, because then we're not discussing anything amongst ourselves. We're dealing with somebody outside of the board.
So, two questions.
And then that document, as it progresses, could be uploaded on the website further.
Are we allowed to discuss this here?
Here,
I mean,
yes.
for example,
In an open meeting,
if
we can discuss.
y'all look at this start and you know, fleshed it out, added things, could you bring it back to a meeting that we have
Well,
here?
absolutely.
Yes.
Well,
We
why
can
don't
have this on our next agenda
yes.
Okay.
for additional
And
comments.
then
and so forth.
I could incorporate it.
But we need an agenda item and it has to be discussed and agreed in a public meeting.
Well, could we put that as an
Sure.
agenda item?
Yeah, that's what I'm.
So we'll,
Yeah, no problem.
address focus tool.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay, and then the second question, I thought that like I can communicate with one of you
You can.
and discuss this. For
One.
example,
But
just
the
one,
subject, that's it.
just
Yeah,
this, what do you mean,
just
just
this
the subject?
focus tool. So you
Yes.
could talk with me, but you couldn't talk with it with,
With anybody else.
Once you've talked with one other person, that's it.
It's, and if I wanted to talk again, it's always gotta be you.
Right.
Correct.
Okay,
Before you bring it to the entire open.
Right.
Body, right? And then we all discuss it. So
okay,
in order to refine your focus tool, you got one person to work with
uh-huh,
before it's brought in front of all of us and then we all add comment in the open court.
okay.
Not an expert, only been doing this for a little bit, but
Yeah, no, I think that's accurate.
Yes, that's correct.
Well, I had thought that Commissioner Carpenter was really seeing the importance of that, so I wanted him to do
Well, I know he'll watch this
it. Okay,
and then I'll pass this on to him.
okay. Okay,
And we will add this to the agenda next time.
good.
Very good. That. And anything else about legislative issues or bills or? Then I guess we'll move on to administrative matters. Any other matters? Not really aware of any. Next
Just
meeting.
like to say thank you to you for succeeding in getting me a branded email address.
Yeah.
So
No problem.
my email address has changed
It's
to
a work in
secretary
progress.
at HCESRPC.com.
That's right.
It's not a Gmail address anymore.
Okay.
So
Well, I
it's,
think
it's on the website.
Okay.
And I think, you know, because I was doing these communications with state agencies, so it looks a little better.
Well, I think,
And also go to the next,
yes,
or a similar one,
Oh,
and go
good.
to the next.
because it's a one-year term and I've
Right.
already informed our secretary that she has to keep all correspondence forever. So you just leave the emails
Right,
to and from and they'll be available for whoever succeeds you.
right.
Hopefully that works well. Any other administrative matters?
can we just confirm next meeting, time, place, date?
Yeah, well, that's the next. Well, actually, public comments is next. Any other public
Oh,
comments
sorry.
from anybody? Okay, so set the next meeting is the last agenda item. And basically, I'll just reiterate that looks like our next meeting will be April 16th at 10 a.m. in the Kerr County Courthouse. I'm going to be out from the 1st through the 12th. If anybody wanted to have a meeting in the interim, you'd have to organize it yourself. But
And then I'll be
And
responsible for public notice. As we discuss and make sure that's set. And our.
Oh, yes.
right,
Yeah, yeah.
Filing that. in our
in fact,
contract.
just for clarity, because I talked with him previously, but now that we're in an open meeting and I can talk to you as well,
Okay,
I'm going to leave it to you to issue the agenda for the next meeting
and
and to
yes,
make sure that you get it to Commissioner Holt so that he can post it in Kirk County,
I will.
because I won't be available within that 72-hour window. So I'd leave it, in your most
Okay.
capable hands to set the agenda and get the notice in the accepted format, and Commissioner Holt can get it. We have a process where our county clerk signs off on it. They actually post it for us, so we'll do that on our end.
All right,
Now, what time is that?
10 o'clock.
10? And
10 a.m.
is this gonna be, so the TCEQ is gonna be there?
That's right.
But is it gonna be a regular meeting of ours?
Well, it's a meeting of ours, but they're going to be on the agenda
I-
to have a coordination with TCEQ.
Okay.
It will be an agenda item.
So they're gonna hear our whole agenda?
It's up to them if they want to. What I've told them is, we'll get them kind of right at the front end
Uh-huh,
so that they don't have to
right.
participate in all the other administrative things that we may or may not do.
Uh-huh.
So, and, because they're traveling from Austin for the meeting, if they get delayed, he said he would let me know by phone. And so we might open the meeting with approval of minutes or who knows what. So we'll try to be as time effective as possible for the gentleman from TCEQ that will be attending.
Right.
If we have the flexibility to move the agenda items around.
So we're not gonna prepare for it, for this meeting with TCEQ. Because we're not meeting in between.
We won't have a meeting.
And
Well,
so we're
again,
not-
it's up to you if you think there's need to have a meeting in preparation, but
we're gonna have the Moss Landing, presentation, but other than that, we don't need to. We have some questions, but, I just.
If we needed to, I guess we could check with Dan Byfield if he feels like there's anything more than just the questions that we have prepared.
yeah, we're gonna want, TCEQ is tracking all these things, so we're gonna want them to tell us
What they know.
what they know about what's out there. And then we're gonna be asking them to, okay, if this continuing resolution goes into effect, and it looks like it will, what is their game plan to ensure that there's no irreversible damage to the Edwards Aquifer? And we would ask them to consider best facilities as part of that potential irreversible impact.
Mhm.
Yeah, so, and in any case, we're gonna ask them to study the worst case scenario. We'll see what they have to say about that. And I've already kind of told these guys that. They didn't say no,
So there's two of them coming?
as far as I know, yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think if we want to bring in any of the other experts that we've talked about, we could certainly try to do that at least. That's why I was kind of talking about the fire marshal, if that's
Right.
helpful to get him to come up for it,
Right.
if he's willing and able.
Or if we have to have them by teams, we could do that too. So if we get more information, if you speak with Annalise Peace or somebody from the Greater Edwards Aquifer, you could add questions, I'm sure.
Sure.
So even if they can't come, we could get some better information.
Right.
I think that from what Dan said, the focus is to get them here and to get our questions answered by them. So I don't know that we're gonna.
Well, we don't need all the experts for every meeting either.
Right.
So kind of play it by ear, but I think it would be great to have somebody from the Greater Edwards
Right, because that's the most,
Yeah.
at that meeting, because
Right.
there's a direct linkage
Right.
between, that continuing resolution.
so
and
I'll have
our issue, so.
I'll have a couple of people for you to reach out to, and that way we'll see if one of them could, even if they participate by teams, if nothing
Sure.
else, or help us with some questions that so one of the two.
Okay.
Yeah, I also think it's important that we be prepared to inform them on the growth of Bessus in Texas, because I don't want to assume that TCEQ is tracking
That's fair.
the technology, the growth, as much as we are. Because I just don't know that they studied it as hard, so I'll be prepared to do that
Great.
Okay.
within our area specifically, but also throughout Texas. You know, do they really understand it's 922 different lithium sites and where they're all planning to come from and where to look on the ERCOT website? On the growth, to understand the overall risk is increasing exponentially, that there is an impact. We need to really hit home on that. And I'll be prepared to do that.
Excellent.
I'm going to have a big old map on this one. It's going to have to really go beyond what we studied locally. But we also have a charter as Hill Country Energy SRPC to understand what's in Kendall and what's in Kerr.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're Texas.
Sure.
Wide.
No, it's a good point.
That's a good point.
It's a much broader issue and there are other counties and areas that are equally concerned and Judge Andy Reese from Van Zandt County reached out and was looking for additional information on our resolution and bylaws. So I've sent that to him. I'm happy to help anybody that wants any information about R391 and what we're trying to do and would be happy to collaborate. So.
Do they have, I thought they had formed a 391.
No.
They had started
They
to.
kind of started it, but again, you know, they've kind of gone down that path that they're relying more on the fire codes than 391. But I don't think they have passed a resolution to form a 391. They just haven't done it yet.
Okay.
So I think now they're looking for help as to how they get it off the ground.
But what they have done is really interesting. I mean, even without the 391.
It is what their fire
Yeah.
marshal discovered is very, very good. It's excellent.
Mhm.
And I
They're
apologize.
taking
I
a
don't have
different
all my
route of
notes in
getting
front of me
legal.
because I would have liked to have spoken on that. So I can help you all with that or because it was very, very good.
Yeah,
So
thank you for sending those.
you're very
Thank you for
welcome.
the networking that got them.
Yes, yes. It was excellent. Last Wednesday was incredibly excellent. And I have a ton of notes and I apologize. I didn't know that y'all wanted me to speak on that because I would have brought them because I think it's very, very effective.
Yeah,
Well, can you email them out?
Yes,
She did.
Oh,
To
okay. So it's
everybody?
not more than what you sent already.
No, well, I have additional notes that yes, I can email out.
Okay,
Because I
that'd
do
be great.
think if we can get, statements from expert witnesses, is that something that we could bring to the TCEQ meeting
Sure.
and read what they said?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so how do we want that agenda item to read while we're talking about it?
Which agenda item?
TCEQ, I was gonna put them maybe second.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
And so it would be, TC, coordination and public.
Coordination and planning meeting with TCEQ. Sure, how we need that.
Because of the public, maybe
Mhm.
public input or public comments or.
Well, it's an open meeting, so the public is always entitled to have input.
So I could just put and input. Because it'll come from
Yeah, and input and testimonies.
a testimony. Okay,
I don't know.
okay. Just want to word it right. Okay.
Van Zandt County has formed. They're working on their first meeting. They're working on their first meeting coming up.
They have formed a 391,
Yeah.
Van Zandt County has.
Okay.
they have.
Yes, they have formed it,
I was
according to
talking
my
with Andy
research.
Reese and he said they hadn't actually formed it yet.
According
They
to
have a
my,
resolution to form one.
I will double check, but I'm checking with my person in Van Zandt, and I believe they actually formed it with another entity. And I believe there may be a third entity that's joined with them.
Yeah.
But there's at least two on Van Zandt County, and I can't remember the city, but she said at least three others are looking to join theirs. Now,
Okay.
this is from my contact up there who actually spoke last Wednesday in Austin. So she's telling me that yes, it has been formed. And they, with their fire marshal and the information that he's provided, they're telling us that they are able to shut down things that have started with the protection of the fire marshal.
Right.
So I would just ask y'all to remember that God tells us the love of money is the root of all evil. These companies are not coming here because they care about us, guys. Please don't be naive when y'all talk to them. The South Korean company came to Comfort and gave $5,000 to the Boys and Girls Club. We get no benefit out of anything that these companies bring. Nothing. Our land will be devastated. Our lives will be ruined. Lives will be lost, at least on Flat Rock Creek, because we have 80 and 90-year-olds who will not be able to get out.
Right.
So when these people are kind and coming to us and being generous, well, what they consider generous, because there's a lot of rich people, rich beyond a lot of these companies' thoughts on some of the people that live in Kerr and Kendall counties. I would ask y'all to take off, to just not be naive to these companies, because they don't give a crud about any of us in this room, in this county, in this state. This is all for money. They're not coming to us to better us or enrich us. This is to better and enrich them. So when they give these little donations or try to do something kind for us or even speak kindly to us, it's because they have a knife in their hand, in my opinion, and they're stabbing us in the back. So I would ask y'all to remember when y'all are speaking to these people, they're not our friends. They don't have the same moral compass or the convictions that we have. So, and that is my opinion only. But I would just ask y'all to remember what God teaches us and what's in the Bible and what these people are about. Thank y'all.
One other thing, if I could.
Mhm.
They told us when they first came in, they did give us a little briefing. We've heard from the key energy people one time and they told us it was all safe. They had all these things, they blow smoke. If you were an investor and you had $100 million, tell me why you would invest in a BESS system that only produces 4 hours of electricity, only on the occasion of a storm or this or that other. You might not ever have produced energy in 20 years, and you're going to invest $100 million to build this? How can I convince you to do that? Where's the incentive to invest $100 million on Flat Rock Creek Road? Where's the payback?
Here's the deal. It's of course taking advantage of the
Tax laws and giveaways and everything else.
But what you have to appreciate is they will be, taking energy and supplying energy every day. The reason we need BESS is because solar
and wind
reliably unreliable. So every day that the sun goes down, we lose all that.
So how much electricity do you have to generate
It's a
in a commercial
commercial
system in order to get the payback on $100 million on a 20-year note?
Sure.
Well,
I can't tell you what the economics look like, but they obviously look
But
Good
that's
enough
always
for
going
these
to
things
pay
to
them
be
some
slumping
factor
into our
much higher
state.
than paying for electricity.
yes.
The interesting thing to consider is who is actually paying in the long run?
We are.
Me, you,
Financially.
that's right.
They say, oh, we have investors and we have owners. I'm like, that cost will be shared
By the taxpayer.
by the taxpayer
That's right.
for a $80 million facility. Because they're gonna buy low and sell high.
Yeah.
The key answer is to whom?
The
It's
other
us.
thing, as far as I can understand it, the only real business model that makes sense is that they will have permanent customers every minute of the day from AI data centers and cryptocurrency mining centers. So this is a huge new market that takes a huge amount of electricity. And they will have, that market to sell to every minute of the day. That's why it's important that an AI data center is coming to Comfort, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not an accident, an AI data center in Flat Rock Creek. So, I mean, that, and actually, I did want to put this on for an intelligence report. The economics, the business model is exactly your question. Why are they doing it? And why are 922 doing it? You know, I mean, I think it is driven in part by renewable energy, but that isn't a sufficient answer in my view. It's because they've got a market for it. So yeah, it's a good question.
If I may.
Sure.
I think some of that was brought out at the symposium where we're just seeing the front end of this. The best plans, to provide energy for the AI and the crypto, what is coming. And another comment that was made, and it might have been in a conversation I had with someone, I'm not sure it was actually came out in the seminar, but is the consideration of the transmission lines that are going to be running across Texas for these plants. If you think about what that's going to do in Texas, those plants have to have transmission lines to wherever they're going. And currently, the amount of energy we can carry on our transmission lines is, we're going to have a lot of additional lines. So that is going to have a huge impact on our Texas landscape. And why are they building AI centers in Austin when their best plants have to be out here? Well, they've got to transport that power.
Right.
So that's the next thing we're going to be talking about. We know in Kerr County, when they put in the big transmission lines along I-10 a few years ago, the impact that had on a lot of people. Well, we're going to see this all over the place. And then to follow up on your comment about Van Sant County, the codes that were mentioned in the symposium by a Van Sant commissioner who is also an attorney, that the codes that they are using is the NFPA code 101 and 855.
Yeah.
And those codes, even if you do not have a fire marshal, you can get a warrant from a district judge or a DA calling for a halt to any building, even as early as clearing brush. You can stop them until they have shown that their plans, what they're intending to do, actually agree with all these codes. And currently, the plans that are being built are not agreeing to those codes.
I think there's a water requirement that's listed
Yes.
in there.
Yeah.
That none of the counties would be able to meet.
The water requirement.
Exactly. So there are things that we can do. We just need to get Fire Marshal Constantine on board, and however we handle it with Kerr County.
The state.
The state fire marshal, because there are things that can be done that I think that we need to explore and implement.
Okay.
And I believe that symposium is going to have a link online, so that's something maybe that we would be able to put onto our website. I'm trying to find the information of that symposium because it's very, very good.
I tried to ask ahead to get, I knew I couldn't go, but
I'm really grateful y'all did.
yeah.
I mean, honestly, we all had conflicts that day, and I think we really missed out.
It was incredibly eye-opening and it was really good. And we have some really good, despite what some of us may believe, myself included, there are some really good people in Austin trying to do some really great things, and people in the Hill Country. And it was very, very informative. And it's something that every resident where in any county where they're looking to put these should tune in and just listen to and educate themselves, because I think the vast majority of people in the Hill Country are, and throughout Texas, are uneducated about these, not through any fault of our own.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you say that this link, is it to an audio recording or just the papers?
No, I believe it's to an actual audio video recording,
Oh.
the whole
Yeah,
symposium.
fantastic.
And so, yes, it's very, very good.
I have been checking with our SRE, our local Republican chair.
Yes.
He was there. and he had a resolution that he introduced and it passed the SREC, I believe. And so I was asking him for that link and information, but whoever gets it first, if you send it, we will post it. And what, that way we'll be able to watch it.
Was it on this or
It was the symposium that
Yes.
Barbara told us about.
the resolution?
Oh, yes, it was on Best. Yes. It was against, yes.
Okay.
Actually, I can probably link that too.
Yeah.
And add that too.
Mr. Dyer was there as well from Mason County. And I think that we need to get his video online on our.
Okay, so and if I forget, if you'll remind me, I will, I'll put the resolution, and then the video. And, one more thing I wanted to point out too, is that when I was talking to, again, I don't know how far this will go, but, Mr. Dyer told us, I was telling Mr. Palacios from, LCRA, I said, you know, as far as putting these batteries in, Mr. Dyer told us that there was an engineer on site putting the batteries in, taking them out of the cases. First of all, they were not from the US, as far as I know, because he could see the labels. And then secondly, his nephew was helping him who had not been trained. So we don't have experts putting these things in. We have, at least in this case, and so we don't know how safe this is when they're actually putting them in place. If a truck was carrying one that wasn't hooked up, just can imagine taking them out of a case. These wooden cases, I think it is, they ship them in and putting them in and installing them without, again, this was just in his instance in Mason, but not training, not permitted, all of those things. So here LCRA is going to give permission to hook up to their lines, and we don't really know how safe they were installed. And that was just one. So I pointed that out to him, but we could probably point that out to others in the future too. All right.
So, any other thoughts about having another meeting before the 16th of April, or you're just gonna go with that? I won't be available.
I think we're good. We're gonna learn a lot from TCEQ where they have their questions already, so they should come prepared for that.
Sounds good. Yeah, you know, the good thing about TCEQ, I think they're coming to this with an open mind and willing to cooperate and help. You know, they have their own perception of limitations, but see how it goes. It'll be a good first coordination meeting,
Yeah.
I think.
And if nothing else, it sounds like they would be educated, like you're saying,
Sure.
to
Right.
where these are coming, and they're going to have the fallout.
Yeah.
Of a catastrophe, because it will go into the waterways. Like you said, these are along waterways, so they may not up front, but they will. And
Yep.
so they need to know that.
Great.
Thank y'all very much for all y'all are doing, guys. Seriously, we sincerely thank y'all. I know y'all don't hear that enough, but we do thank y'all.
We've had a lot of help from our constituents. Thank you. All of you included. All right, so
Well,
with
if
that,
there aren't any other comments or other business,
I just say anybody wants one.
then that will conclude the meeting.
thank you very much.
Thank you for everyone.
Thank you.